Welcome to episode 24 of Make It to Midnight. I'm your host, JP Hovey. Thank you for being here. If you're new, thank you for being here. If you're old, thank you for being here. If you've been here every now and then, I appreciate you big time. What is Make It to Midnight? Make It to Midnight is a place where I'm trying to inspire, encourage, motivate people to continue to put one foot in front of the other and keep on making it to midnight each and every day, despite what might be thrown at you throughout that day. That's my hope. Make it to midnight. Make it to midnight every day to get that new opportunity. This episode is going to be the 10 things that I learned from going to Chris Williamson's live show in Nashville, Tennessee. If you follow my page at all, you've probably at least seen Chris Williamson because I share so many clips from his podcast interviews, from his solo one-on-one social content. He is one of my biggest inspirations in starting this page because I watched him. He started out in his bedroom. You see it? Probably a little bit neater than mine, but he started out in his bedroom and now he has one of the top podcasts in the world. And obviously, you know, my number one goal is to impact people and inspire people, whether it's one person or 1 million people. So it's awesome to see him do it at scale and reach those millions. And hopefully one day I can reach the millions. So he inspires me in a lot of ways. And I had the opportunity to go to his live show in Nashville, Tennessee, which was incredible. They crushed it. And I don't know if I ever, would want to do live shows probably at some point if I was to ever make it to that point, but it was cool to sit in my seat pretty much in day one of starting this brand and get to watch somebody that I admire who's he's had over 1,000 episodes. So probably in total, he's been at it for years, 8-9 years. And he didn't hire his first person, I don't think, until like his 300th or 400th episode. He recently just hit 1,000 episodes, like I said. But this was awesome. It was on a Saturday night, 8 p.m., downtown Nashville, Cannery Hall. People could have been doing a million other things. Instead, there's hundreds of people in this room listening to Chris, trying to just bring out the best version of themselves. And he was super vulnerable on stage with the things that he's struggling with and how this was his best year ever when it came to money, follower growth, subscriber growth, merchandise purchases. Everything was up, but he was having the hardest time. So that was cool to hear it as well, because he's somebody I admire. And a lot of times when people admire the people you admire, you don't think that they're really going through stuff. You think they've conquered it. They're at the top of the mountain and they're enjoying it. But this episode is going to be the 10 things I learned from Chris Williamson live show in Nashville last weekend. Lesson 1 from the Chris Williamson live show that stood out to me: choose your regrets. The price of inaction is heavier than the price of trying. So when you're going in to make a decision and you're thinking about which way you want to go with it, think about which regret you could live with more by choosing to go down this road or choosing to go down that road. And it will save you so much turmoil in your own head. And one of the biggest things when it's choosing your regrets, and this one resonated with me big time, was the quote of doing nothing is actually doing something. Because when you decide to do nothing, me, for example, I always push recording the long version of this podcast back a day, because I'll get in my head about it and I'll just say, you know what? I'm not in the mind frame tonight. I'll just do it tomorrow. So I'm not going to do anything tonight. And it's all it is just pushing you one day back further from your goals. And I struggle with that a lot with this show, because we're all great at making excuses. But one of the reasons why I have decided to go forward with this brand and create merch and create journals and try to go all in for it is because this point right here: you're choosing a regret, the regret of trying and failing, or the regret of never knowing. I don't think I would be able to live with myself if I never tried to start this brand. I never tried to impact as many people as possible, because it's something that means a lot to me, and passions just don't come out of nowhere. You don't have your passion by accident. So you should not treat it like that. So what would tomorrow you want today you to do? And every decision is a future investment. You're going to live with the story that you wrote. Every single day, I talk about it all the times. Before you go to bed, if you had 2 buckets and you have to drop a quarter, a rock, or whatever it is in the bucket that says I did something that is trying to push me towards the person I want to be today, or I took a step back today, which bucket would be more full? The second thing I learned, this one is about judgment and bravery. We aren't afraid of failing, but we are afraid of being seen failing. And I think we can all admit to ourselves that that is the number one driving factor, because what else would keep us from it if we weren't worried about people's other opinions? If you could block out anybody's opinion, you would 1000% live your life differently. I know I would. It has kept me from doing things, but I've also felt that I've been making progress. You see, the things I'm posting in the beginning of Make It to Midnight, I used to think it was like, man, people are probably going to think this is so cringe. I'm usually goofing off and doing this thing. I'm going to look like a try hard. I'm going to look different to all these other people. But then in the last 3-4 months, I feel like I've actually owned that, because I'm trying to make a difference. And if you're trying to make a difference, then you have to become different. So if people are seeing you as different, I promise you that means you're doing something right if you're backing it up with all the work and sacrifices that you're making. Another awesome point that he brought up was stop worrying about people liking you when most people don't even like themselves. All day, every day, we know people, we communicate with people that are complaining about something in their own lives, complaining about how much money they make, complaining about not living in a place they want to live, complaining about friends, all of these things. Majority of people, it seems, have some sort of complaint with their life. And why would you care what somebody has to think if they're living a life that they're not even happy with? And that stuck with me. That stuck with me a lot. And then on the other side of it, when you are afraid of it, afraid of being seen this way, it brings out bravery. The number one thing you have to be is brave. And the coolest thing about bravery is that you cannot fake bravery. You either do it or you don't. And so many things are not that cut and dry in life, but bravery is. You hear all the Navy SEALs talk about it. They ask Chris Williamson, actually, he asked Jocko Willink, how do you deal with fear? And he had a one-word answer. He says, go. Go headfirst into it. You don't have to be brave for 5 years, 10 years. Sometimes you just have to be brave for one moment. Being brave for 5 minutes could change the next 5 years, because if you sit back and are afraid to take action on that fear, it could fester in you for a very long time. So overcome the imaginary courtroom in your head that's trying to make the decisions. Do the thing even when you don't feel like doing it. And this one kind of ties into the last one a little bit, but this is number 3, and this is about comparison. What we struggle with is the people that are in front of us on the screens are the one percenters. They are the best at their craft. Chris is a great example. He's at the very top of the podcast game. I do a disservice to myself trying to compare myself to him and how great of a speaker he is, great of a storyteller, writer, interviewer, all of those things. But that's who I view the most. That's who I will try to compare myself to. And anytime I compare myself, I was like, man, I'm so far off of this thing. But we tend to compare ourselves to the one percenters. We have the wrong comparison group. And defining and pinpointing your comparison group is key, because just like we said in the last thing, most people are not living lives that you want. And so you can go one of two ways. You can always compare yourself to that 1% that you are way off of, and that they probably sacrifice something that you're not willing to sacrifice, and that's okay. Or you're comparing yourself to people that you're doing more than. So find the group of people that you feel are in the same boat, and then try to do whatever you can with them. This isn't a you versus other people mentality, but try to do whatever you can to continue to level up your comparison groups. If you do what everyone else does, you get what everyone else has. A reliable route to a life that you don't want. I'm going to read that again for you. If you do what everyone else does, you get what everyone else has. And that is a reliable route to a life that you don't want. So do not compare yourself to people who are living lives that you would not want. Number 4, the importance of embracing mundane success and celebrating boring victories. Big wins come from boring repetitions. And when it can seem hard and it can feel mundane, say on your bad days, This is when it's so important to show up on your bad days. On your bad days, you have got to remember this one thing, is that life will not be like this forever. And why I say this is such an important thing to remember is because it's the exact same thing on your good days. Your best day, life will not be like this forever. So you have got to keep showing up, whether it's a great day or a bad day, because you will have both. Once we are able to truly embrace and appreciate the mundane successes, that's where the fullness of life gets. And that's where I think a lot of people, they do not, this is where a lot of I think the Chris's of the world not fall off, but where they're missing. It's like they have everything up until that mountaintop, because a lot of the things you hear from these types of people, motivational type people, is always, enjoy the thing so you're not looking over the shoulder at the next thing. And you'll never find peace that way, but it's the biggest battle in life. And honestly, I get it to an extent, but if you do believe in God and his story and his journey, then that always striving and wanting more, that feeling gets suppressed a little bit. You're always going to have it, especially if you're an ambitious person, but the ultimate goal and the ultimate prize that is waiting for you. So, and a lot of these people in this space, I do not think are Christians, but they are curious, and they're doing every single thing that points to them leading that type of life. And that's why it's so fascinating to learn from all these people. But yeah, doing it when you didn't feel like doing it is the biggest win. And something that Chris was talking about that he's working on this year was celebrating these things. So they made it to X amount of episodes, and one of his friends on his team brought in balloons and a cake, and they went to dinner that night and they celebrated it. His friend had something in his personal life that went well. He got a dinner reservation and they celebrated it. Life is so much more full when you do decide to celebrate these things, because the opposite end of it is you just sit there and then you feel stuck and you feel like you haven't done anything, even though you just make it through a day working towards a goal. That is a success, and that deserves to be celebrated. We won't stay on top, but we also don't want to stay stuck, and we won't stay stuck if you feel this way. This lesson is the brand, right? Make it to midnight is the boring victories. Make it to midnight every day and celebrate it and get up. And this leads me into the fifth thing I learned. I see we're still good on time. The fifth thing I learned: gratitude in the hard times and gratitude in general. Hard chapters every day of the week will build you more than easy ones. You make your most progress when things are hard. And this is probably one of the things that stuck out the most to me in his show, when he was talking about going through the hard times, remaining disciplined, and how once you get through, they always refer to this as the lonely chapter. Anybody that wants to achieve something great and get to that next level goes through a lonely chapter where they don't fit in with their friends from their previous actions, previous life, but they're not at a point where they belong in that group that's up here with what they're striving for. So you're in that lonely time. And every single person that makes it through their lonely chapter, if you ask them, hey, would you go through that again? The answer is rarely no, because of what it brought them, what they learned, what it brought them, and what it taught them along the way. You have to become a certain type of person to make it through one of those lonely chapters, and you are an extremely better version of yourself once you do make it through. So the next time you're in a hard time, remember that it's going to suck. None of what I'm saying is going to make it easier, but it's so necessary to the growth of your life, to you as a person, to how you're going to be treating others, to the things that you're going to be able to help others when they're going through a lonely chapter. There's so many things that you learn about yourself in the hard times that you're going to be able to help other people with. And it might not be next year, it might not be in 5 years, it might not be in 10 years. Your story might help somebody out in 20 years when somebody's looking for advice. And if you didn't go through that hard time, you would never know how to help that person. So I think it's cool. You never actually would erase the hard parts once you do make it through them. And that is why they're so important. And something that can help with that is I know I'll get down on myself if I look too much, if my time horizon is smaller, if I'm only looking in days and I'm not focusing on the years. So I just started selling merch for Make It to Midnight. My goal is not to make money. My goal is to have a bunch of orders so that a bunch of conversations can be started. And right now it's hard to grow it. And it seems like I'm in week 2 and I feel like, man, I think I have 25 orders, which when I'm looking at the wrong comparison groups, it's not good. And it sucks right now. But the longer I keep doing it, once I get to 6 months and I look at the full 6 months, hopefully I'm at a spot where I feel better about it. But if I'm not, in 3 years, hopefully I'm at a spot where I look back and I'm thinking, man, why was I so hung up on this first month of my work? And same goes for people that aren't just selling merch, but you could have one bad year. Honestly, you could have 2 bad years, but if you zoom out and those 10 years were great, you got to chalk it up as a win. So having gratitude through the hard times. Those are the chapters of your life that forged you, and out of difficulties grow miracles. Zoom out and just stay in the fight. The 6th thing that they talked about, the 6th thing that we're going to talk about is identity, pain, and purpose. Chris asked at the live show, what pain can you handle more than anyone else? Because purpose usually hides inside the discomfort you're strangely good at enduring. If you can endure something for longer than somebody else, that's going to give you the leg ahead in whatever it is you're chasing after you. The things you are passionate about are not random. They are your calling. Most people overlook their calling because it feels normal. This is kind of what I posted the other day with the Ikigai, the Japanese philosophy, where basically your calling, where your pleasure crosses over with work, and when work feels like play, it's kind of Ikigai. But it's my favorite part of the definition is that it's not a state that you're trying to reach. It's not a state that you're trying to reach. It's a direction that you're trying to go in. And I think when you're able to define and articulate your identity and your purpose, it makes the destination, it makes the direction of the destination that much more clear. And I love it. The next thing we got is self-belief and evidence. Self-belief is overrated. Evidence is better. Confidence is not a prerequisite to start something, but it's a byproduct. You can doubt your process, question your talent, and still end up somewhere your younger self would be shocked by. One of the greatest artists of all time. Action is the foundational key to all success. Do the reps, stack the proof. The feeling will catch up later. That's how I feel in this. This is episode 24. And the only way I know that I'm going to feel good about where I am as a speaker, as a communicator, as a storyteller, is if I make it to episode 300, 400, 500, because I do not have the evidence out there that makes me feel confident enough in it all. But it comes through the work. And the work is where you can find all the answers you're looking for the things that you don't have and the things that you want. And I want to stress again this Picasso quote: action is the foundational key to all success, because you can get so caught up in your head. When I was trying to make some of these journals, this isn't mine, but for prop's sake, I was in my head before I even created all these prompts, because I'm trying to find the perfect this, the perfect that for it. But you're never going to have the perfect condition to start. Starting is the perfect condition. And I'm all on board of completed is better than perfect, because you're never going to actually achieve perfection. So then you're never going to have a completed product. So get to work on it. Take action. You're going to make mistakes. It's going to be hard. But all of this stuff that I've talked about ties in together, because you are forged in those hard chapters of your story. And those are the pages that people are going to reread at the end of your life, for sure. How did they get through the hard times? Then this was a cool one. The last few are short. This was joy versus relief. And I thought this was a very interesting thought. He asked a question: when things go well, are you happy or are you relieved? Relief comes from fear. Joy comes from alignment. Your conscience knows the truth. Richard Wagner says joy is not in things. It is in us. Chasing outcomes won't fix your fear. Chasing alignment will. I think as I keep reading these, I keep saying, I think this one might be my favorite one. This one might be my favorite one. This one actually might be my favorite one because I've felt those times where you feel relief when something goes well. And I've also felt the time that you feel joy when something goes well. For me, I'm a video editor, and there are plenty of projects now that I've put in the work and creative evidence that I'm very excited to finish. It could be 48, 72 hours worth of footage that I put together into a 40 to 45 minute piece of content for somebody to enjoy watching on YouTube. Whatever, any kind of weekend night, it could be the activity they look forward to making. And I know that when I put it out there, that they're going to enjoy it, and that brings me joy. I'm not even questioning, man, I hope the people like this. I hope they like this. I know because I've created the evidence and I'm doing what I know I'm good at, what I'm passionate about, and I've put in the work. And that feeling of joy is so much better than the feeling of relief because it's not fleeting. It's just you get to pat yourself on the back for a job well done if you go about it that way. So the best way that you can find that joy in your work world is to become so good at your craft that you know that people are going to love the thing that you put out there. And I love that. Chasing outcomes will not fix your fear. Chasing alignment will. All right, 2 left. And then this one is super fast because he gave a great example, but it's called Don't Multiply by Zero. The concept is simple but dangerous. One catastrophic choice can erase everything. That's what Don't Multiply by Zero means. It's not about living scared. It's about avoiding the one move with no do-over. The example he used for not multiplying by zero, this is an extreme example, but it hit home with me. Hopefully it hits home with you. Say if you are all about your health, you don't eat the dyes in the foods, you have a strict diet, you get all your red meat, you eat your chicken, your vegetables, your fruits, you cut out added sugars, no candy, no sweets, none of that stuff. You do every single thing. You sauna, you cold plunge, you steam room, but then you don't put your seatbelt on. And that's ultimately the end of you. So you're take your diet, sauna, steam room, workout, 20 times 40 times 60 times 80. It's going to give you a large sum, and it's going to get you to a place that you are pleased with. But the minute that you multiply it by zero, what does all that stuff equal? Zero. Do not multiply by zero. Eliminate the things that could be a zero in your life. Do not let the zeros in life erase your progress. And then the last one, which is actually my favorite one. And he said it perfectly. It was towards the end of his show, and he's talking about when you're climbing up that ladder and how to stay focused on the right things. And it was every level has a devil, which was the perfect closer. No matter how far you climb, there will always be another challenge, another insecurity, another doubt, another devil. It's not a punishment. It is the price of growth. New levels bring new devils, and the goal isn't to escape the problems. It's to face better ones. Each time that you make a jump in your life, whether it's career, relationships, friendships, the bigger the life gets, the more problems. In my current job, when we signed our newest deal, it was for the most money that the two owners had ever made. And one of the first things he told us was, when you get paid more, the problems get bigger. And you get paid more because you're able to solve those bigger problems and you're able to deliver in those bigger problems. But there's a lesson to this that Chris did not bring up about the different levels, because a lot of people will kind of tell you the higher you climb, the farther you fall. And I think a lot of that is because of every level has a devil. When you're at one of those top levels, you're going to be facing one of your biggest devils, your biggest hills to get over, your biggest enemies. I don't think it's actually the higher you climb, the farther you fall, because of all of the things that you had to do. You defeated all of these other obstacles, overcame all of these other obstacles on your way up to that top part that you changed. Say there's 10 levels. You make it to level 10. You're a completely different person at level 9 than you were at level 1. And so if you do get knocked off at level 10, there's no shot that you fall back to 1 because of who you became along the way. So don't go through life thinking that if you can reach it to this place, then you won't have to deal with this problem anymore. That might be true. You might have been able to eliminate one, but another larger one is going to be there staring you right in your face. And that kind of goes back to chasing outcomes. Chasing outcomes is not going to fix your fear, but chasing alignment will. It's not a destination to land, it's a direction to go. So you should embrace it because it's an honor to be able to face bigger problems. And that's a great mindset to look at it. But we've been going for a long time now. I'm going to hopefully edit this down to less than 30 minutes. And we'll close it off with some of the things. You're always choosing your regrets. You're always shaping your future memories, and you can't think your way into a meaningful life. You have to do your way into one. Most people want the results of a brave life without ever doing the brave thing. But you, Make It to Midnight listeners, you know the truth. If you refuse the difficult things, you refuse the meaningful things. So whatever you're facing, whatever chapter you're in, remember the simplest, most important line. Make it to midnight, keep going, and do the thing. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you have a chance, go watch Chris's live show. Go pay the money for it. It's worth it. Consume his content. Consume this content. Consume content that is giving you life. Life doesn't come at you. It comes from you. And what comes from you is all of these different things you're consuming. So make sure the things you're carrying in your cup are positive and beneficial to those around you. This was episode 24. We will see you next week. Wait, was this 24? Yeah, this is episode 24. We will see you next week for episode 25. Appreciate you guys. Keep making it to midnight. Subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And also leave a comment. Peace.